Bella, welcome to Bella and Janetto. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you're new, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. No matter how long you've been here, I always appreciate your time. I am going to do a hashtag today called Fiber Artists Nopes. I was tagged by Jules Crafts, and it originated with the Spoonie Stitcher. Now I know Jules tagged several people, and I had to have a little bit of a think about this because it's hard to consider things that you'll never do, but through the years that I've been crocheting, it is easy to say I don't ever want to do that again if I can avoid it. So I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I have done some thinking, but it hasn't been like I don't have a list. I don't have anything written down. So I just thought that I would hop on and talk to you guys about it, and maybe other things will pop into my head while I am chatting with you all. So if you enjoy this video, please make sure that you click like and subscribe and fill in that bell for all notifications so that anytime that I put up a video, put up a post, even go live every once in a while, you'll get notified. And then please make sure to give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. So, what are some things that I won't do as a fiber artist? Well, I'll tell you this. One of the things that I really, really, really dislike is doing anything that involves slip stitches or like the moss stitch, because it's really like a thin, small, short, however you want to describe it, stitch. I crochet incredibly tightly. I have a very tight tension. It's just how I crochet, and stitches like that are very, very difficult for me because inevitably I can do one, but then I can't get the hook back through because I've pulled it too tight. And then when I pull it too loose, it gets all over the place because it doesn't make sense anymore. So I don't like doing those, and I will change the stitch if it calls for something. Now I did do a sampler blanket, a stitch sampler blanket, that was crochet-a-long with Lisa over at Lady Bird Loves, and one of the stitches that was on the wheel was that stitch, and it was not pleasant. I did it because it was the stitch, but it's probably one of the shortest segments in my blanket. And I think my blanket ended up being like a king size, no, it was a queen size blanket. After I put all the border on it, ended up being a queen size blanket. Also, in that blanket, I did something else that I learned that I don't really ever want to do, and that is do a large project in black yarn. Now, I didn't do all of it in black yarn, but I did do some segments in black yarn, and I'm very, very glad that the stitch that I chose for, or the stitch that was chosen for that color ended up being an easier stitch. So the crochet-a-long was essentially you have a certain number of colors, and then you have a wheel, and it has a bunch of stitches on it, and you pick which one you're going to do with the wheel and the color, and then that's what it ends up being. So it was all these different stitches that we had input in, and it was a great grand time. But in doing that, I was like, I don't really want to do a big project in black. I was asked to do one of Crafty Intentions. I want to say it was a dragon, but I think the pattern actually ended up being a wyvern pattern, and the lady wanted it in black. And I told her, I am going to charge you way too much money for this. Like, more than you're willing to pay. Not more than it's worth, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to, like, take all her money. But I was like, I'm going to charge you a lot of money for this. Like, I would normally ask X amount for this, but because you want it in all black, I'm going to ask this amount. So if you want to pick a different color, yeah, sure. But if you ask me to do it in all black, because it's very, very difficult, and it's an amigurumi, and I don't know if you've ever seen some of Crafty Intentions patterns. Um, there's been some stuff all over YouTube. She did a kraken. She did all kinds of dragons. She's done. Uh, she has some books out with. I think the Imkins book and a Monsters book, and but there are some intricate things in some of those patterns, and having to stitch them together. And if you know me at all as a crocheter, I put stitch markers all over everything because I do not like to count. And I want to make sure that when I'm doing my amigurumi, if there's supposed to be a wing here or an arm over here or a nose here, I got stitch markers all over the place. That thing jingles like it's Christmas. Okay? So I just was like, I'm sorry. So she ended up asking for it in blue, but then I made her one item, and then she decided she didn't want the second item, which is okay. But doing things in black yarn is something that I do not enjoy, and I will avoid it at all costs. So I guess that's a no, because my first answer is going to be, I'd rather not. So that's sort of no. The other thing I really don't like doing is using tiny yarns. Now, it's not to say I won't do it. I've done it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. No. I'm comfortable with a sport weight. That's probably about the lowest I would like to go. Again, not to say I haven't done things in smaller yarn. The candy tuft cardigan that I did, it took me 6 months to make the back of the cardigan. I did find out that I had done it wrong and I had to rip it all out. And I was like, I'm not doing it with tiny yarn again. So I held two tiny yarns together. Project went so much faster. I needed more yarn, but the project went much faster. So, I mean, I'd rather not. I have been thinking about the Asteria pattern that I'm going to have to do at some point this year with my Manfellow Mal's collaboration with Sam. And I do have some yarns that I was thinking maybe could work. Mainly because if I do that in a 3-weight yarn even, it's going to be massive. And I don't really know where I want to put it. But I was thinking it would look really nice in here somewhere, like on a hoop. I think that would be really cool. And so in order to do that, I either need a big space, like, you know, the ceiling or something, or I need to do it in a tiny yarn. Now, I do have some that I am thinking about and I am considering, but we'll see what happens when that comes around. Tiny yarns are not my favorite. So again, I'd rather not. I'm not going to say never, right? But I would rather not. So there's that. Let's see. Fuzzy yarns? Not a fan. And I don't mean like chenille yarns. Like, I'll use those mainly because I will go down several hook sizes. Because if I'm using those, I'm using it for amigurumi. I already crochet tightly, so I don't have a problem using those. But I'm talking about things that have a halo, things that stick to each other, because I will mess up. That's just because I don't like to count. Again, the stitch marker thing, right? I don't like to count because then it feels too much like work. And I just try to keep track as best I can, but inevitably I mess up. So I will have to frog it. And if you use a fuzzy yarn, one that has a halo, right, and it sticks to itself, I'm gonna have to cut that yarn. I'm gonna have to do something that's going to cause me more frustration than I want. So I would rather not. Things like mohair, some wools, let's see, what's another one? There was an Angora. I don't have any Angora. Lots of tiny little yarns are very expensive. It's lovely, but I did see some at a craft show, and that particular one had a lot of halo on it. I was like, oh, it's beautiful. It was also really expensive, and I was like, I just want to touch it, and I touched it, and it was so soft, and I was like, no thanks. Um, there was another one. It was a Karen cake that had a halo, and it was like all the rage. Everybody was buying it, and I had someone ask me, are you going to show that on your channel? And I was like, what am I going to do with it? Like, if I buy it, what am I going to do with it? So, I'm not going to use it. I mean, that's just me. I don't want to buy something to show you that I'm not going to use because, one, I don't have money like that. Two, my channel doesn't make any money. Uh, and three, it would sit. I mean, I could put it in a giveaway, right? I could, but then again, money to ship somewhere. It's gonna cost me money to buy it, to ship it, to what? I don't make any money off of this, so to do something like that would be hard for me. Now, I don't mind buying yarns that I know, hey, I would love to try this yarn. I would like, but if I know that it's gonna frustrate me, I'd rather not. Maybe that's what I should put on this hashtag. Fiber artists, nopes, quotation marks. I'd rather not. Because I mean, if somebody wanted a project, I'm trying to think. I mean, I know I don't have any to show you, but if somebody wanted a project out of something like that, I mean, maybe. But I mean, I'd have to really, really love you a whole lot, or you'd have to be paying me a lot of money. And I'm not saying that to like say anything about money necessarily, but those kinds of things would necessitate me being able to make a profit off of this. And I don't. So I'm not going to put myself through undue stress when I don't have that as an option. Uh, there are plenty of people that will do it, and I know that there are some people that will do it, and I can direct you to their channels or to their email addresses or whatever the case may be. Um, let's see, what's something else? I'm trying to look around my yarn room to see if there's any inspiration. I know that there's some of you out there that will be like, well, what about pink yarn? Well, I'm not going to say that I'll never use it because I have used it. I used it this year, in fact. I made a baby blanket. Did I like it? No. Is that going to be a regular occurrence? No. But I did it because a friend of mine asked me. I did a video about this, the military family assistance, where she's collecting baby items, not just blankets. I decided to make blankets, but she's collecting any sort of baby items for baskets that she's making for her husband's unit. So whenever they have babies in that unit, they can give them, like diapers and bibs and blankets and wipes and whatever. So they put a little basket together to give to the family. And she asked me to make like specifically a pink blanket for a girl and specifically a bluish blanket for a boy, because there are some people who really, really stick to that, right? And then there are the people that don't. So I am working on a blanket now for a friend of mine back in the States, and she was like, pick whatever. Like, this is the color scheme that we're going with for the room. So if you have something that matches that, great. If not, no problem, right? So that's the pink yarn. I do have pink yarn. I'm looking at it right back there. Because my daughter also loves pink and purple. She's leaning now more towards purple, which I'm so grateful for. But for the longest time, her favorite color was pink. Pink everything. She wanted pink everything. So, what did mommy do? Mommy bought the pink. Did mommy want to touch the pink? No, I did not. But I would buy it because that made her happy. And something that is in your favorite color should bring you joy. Pink brings me no joy. I actually feel kind of icky touching it. It's almost like a sensory thing, even though it's a color, if that makes sense to you. Uh, and it doesn't make me feel calm. It doesn't make me feel nice. It makes me anxious. So imagine having a daughter whose favorite color is pink, and she wants it everywhere, and I'm just like, no, thank you. But you can't say that, right? You can't say that because then they don't get to have their favorite color. For me, my favorite color is blue, right? So I want that calm feeling that I get when I see the blues, when I see even like a nice autumn palette, right? The oranges and the reds and the yellows and the browns, all like beautiful fall day, right? That makes me happy. That makes me calm. So I won't say that I'll never use pink yarn because I have used it. Again, I'd rather not, but I mean, I used it just this year, so I can't say it's an absolute 100% no for me. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Um, I guess one thing for me that I would rather not do is do a lot of whips all at one time. So I do have several going on right now, just because of things I've agreed to, but it does feel overwhelming, and there are things that literally just get put to the side for a while. I had the wavy waffle stitch blanket that got put to the side for a long time because I had to go back and redo it, and then I had to go back and redo it a second time, and so then now it's no longer a wavy waffle blanket, it's just a waffle blanket because I was not about to sit there and put myself through that again after my Christmas tree wrecked my blanket. So um, but to that end, right, the fairy dust cowl or the fairy dust, because I'm not part of the cowl, the cowl's actually already over, but the fairy dust blanket, it has seen no love for a long time. Um, I have made a couple of small things in between. Like I said, I made blankets, and I am doing the Manfella Mals with Sam, and I finished my cardigan. Oh, the Stag and the Serpent. That was a crochet-along um, in the fall with the Knotting Shed, and my partner that I was doing that with, Kay, she had an injury and she had to stop crocheting, and we had agreed that we were going to do it together, step by step. Like, we're going to do it together. So we will sit and chat, or we'll say, excuse me, we'll say, we're going to get to round whatever, or row whatever, depending on what we're doing, by the end of this week or by this time. And then we check in with each other. Were you able to get it done? No, or yes. And then we move on from there, however it's managed to fall, right? But even just sitting here talking about all of those things, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm not done with that. I'm not done with that. I'm not done with that. And so I tend to be very selective in what I choose to do because I will just stop crocheting. Like, I will just shut down and stop for a while if I can't feel like I can manage it. So, I'm not somebody that's going to have a whip pile. You're not going to see, a whip mountain as some people have. I'm not going to do something where I've had a whip for 10 years. No, I'm either going to frog it or I'm going to finish it. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I don't know. I think maybe that's all of them. Oh, I will say this. One thing I don't really ever want to go back to. I've done it, right? But I don't really ever want to go back to just a standard aluminum hook. They're good if I don't have a Tunisian hook and I want to make a washcloth or something. But now that I've had the different varieties of ergonomic hooks and things like that, my hand just hurts so much when I try to use an aluminum hook. And I've been crocheting since I was 9. Most of the time it was just basic stuff like scarves and blankets and, hats and things. I never did anything super fancy until I was probably in my 20s, when I was sick and I was sitting for a long time. I would pick it up every now and again and make something. But, you know, um, I've tried to like go back to using aluminum hooks if I couldn't find my hooks. And I was like, this is really painful, right? This is really, really painful. So I would rather not. I would rather not go back to using just the plain aluminum hooks. Now, there's nothing wrong with them. They work perfectly fine. But knowing and having been able to use the ergonomic hooks that are better for my hands, I don't think I would love crochet as much if I had to go back to it now. That's all I had ever known. And that was all I knew for a long time, right? Because my mom certainly wasn't going to buy me good hooks. And my beast Nonna, she gave me what she had, and those were aluminum hooks. And then, I mean, some of the hooks like I couldn't afford, right, until much later. So it hasn't been that much time that I've been using them, but now that I have been, I don't want to go back to using a plain aluminum hook. So I'm really trying to look for. I'm never gonna say that I'll never knit or do any other fiber arts right now. I only crochet. I mean, I can do embroidery. It's not my favorite. I can like needle felt. I can. I can't do like Ditmer knittery, like that kind of felting. That's beyond my capabilities. But definitely go check her out. It's an amazing channel, fabulous things on Etsy. Oh my goodness. I can't do that level, right? But I can do some needle felting, and then what else? I can do macrame. But I mean, I've always said that I don't know how to knit yet, and I don't want to pick anything else up until after probably my daughter's out of school. Just because if I put any other craft in this room or whatever space I have, I'm not going to have a place to sit. So I don't need any more materials. I don't need any more. I don't need another craft, right? I just need this, and that's it for now. Later, maybe. But right now, no thanks. So that's a farther down the road kind of thing. Not that it's never going to happen, but just not right now. So yeah, I think that's really it. I don't have, I'm really, really, really looking, like just to see if there's anything else that like is like, oh yeah, mention this. No, but if there's something that you think of, put it in the comments below. If you've heard me say that I don't like to do something or that I would rather not do something as it relates to fiber arts, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll be like, oh yeah, I should have said that one, right? Or if there's something that I like to do, right? I like to do Tunisian. I like to do washcloths. I like to do blankets and wearables, things like that. If there are things that I like to do that you're like, I would rather not do those things, right? Put that in the comments below. I'd love to see what you like to do and what you don't like to do. What would be your rather nots? What would be your fiber artist nopes, right? Um, I do not have permission to tag anyone in this, um, like for the purposes of doing the tag. So I'm not going to tag anyone directly. I will leave it open. I mean, I'm going to put in the channels that I mentioned, right? But I'm not going to tag anyone specifically. So if I've mentioned you in the video and you haven't done the tag and you would like to, feel free. If you haven't been tagged, because as I said, I'm not tagging anyone specifically, and you would like to do it, feel free, right? I would love for you to mention my video, but then also please mention the Spoonie Stitcher, as she's the one that created the tag. So with that, I will leave you. I hope, as always, that you are well and safe, and be the change you wish to see in the world, everyone. Ciao bella!